evil cannot create anything new, they can only corrupt. Sounds familiar? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Andy, welcome to Screenfire. Right from the start, I want to say this is just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's cool. Everyone is entitled to have his or her own opinion, so please don't burn me at the stake for doing the same. If you didn't notice, the "evil cannot create anything new" quote is from J.R.R. Tolkien himself, and it's everywhere on YouTube right now to protest the direction of the new Amazon-produced series, The Rings of Power. It's a new Lord of the Rings series and it's a prequel to the Peter Jackson movies. During Super Bowl, they showed us the first teaser and people go batshit crazy because of it. And to be fair, my expectations weren't that high, but oh boy did they screw up. And not for the reasons you might think. I know there is a huge controversy because there are black dwarfs and black elves in it, and yes, it feels kind of strange, but I'm sure we get used to it. There just weren't many movies or books I can think of that portrayed elves as black characters, and I'm not talking about dark elves, obviously. There is not a single main or side character in Lord of the Rings who is black, and we have this picture in our head because that is how we grew up with the fantasy genre. It really doesn't bother me that much as long as everything else is good. If the world and the characters are well written, I don't care. But from what I can see in the teaser, there is plenty I can complain about. And don't get me wrong, I know it's just a teaser, and if we are lucky, everything I'm about to say isn't true at the end or are just exceptions or work in progress. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I can't say the same about The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings was, and I hope I get that quote right, the last big movie that was shot like a low-budget movie, but on steroids. Peter Jackson said something like that, minus the steroid part. They really shot on location. They used less CGI than you would think they did. They used a lot of practical effects and optical tricks. All of this gave Lord of the Rings a very real, almost grounded vibe for a fantasy movie. They went with the exact opposite style in The Hobbit. And guess what? The Rings of Power feels more like the Hobbit movies. Just worse. But it's not even close to The Hobbit. It's, I don't know, almost more like Narnia or The Golden Compass. They all have this artificial art style I really dislike. There was almost nothing visual exciting for me in the teaser, and yes, there are a few shots where they are walking on a real location, but most of it just feels fake. The waterfall, CGI. A young Galadriel in heavy armor jumping on a cliff, fake. CGI monster in a cave, fake. It looks more like a tech demo for a video game than Lord of the Rings, and it's not the visuals alone. It's the way they shot it. Arondir, the black elf, catches an arrow mid-air in slow motion and shoots it back. Don't get me wrong, Legolas also had some sick moves in Lord of the Rings, but if you show it in slow motion, you empathize on how cool this is, and for me that makes it just less cool. We also see Dwarf Princess Disa, and you know what really bothered me? Female dwarfs have a beard. Where's her facial hair? Okay, maybe that's nitpicking, but it would show that they try to be faithful to Tolkien's work.
It's true you don't see many dwarf women. And in fact, they are so alike in voice and appearance that they're often mistaken for dwarf men. It's the beards.
We also get a first glimpse at Markella Kavanagh's character and hear her in the background. She's a Harfoot, that's one of the 3 Hobbit ancestors, because the Rings of Power takes place at the Second Age. That's a few thousand years before the events of Lord of the Rings. And at this time, the Harfoots are the closest thing we get when it comes to hobbits. So we have another Hobbit-like person who wants to explore the world and go on an adventure. To be fair, we don't know for sure, but to have a similar character with a similar goal for the third time, I don't know, that's just repetitive and boring if you ask me. The fact that she's female now isn't enough to make me interested, but hey, as mentioned, it's just a teaser and I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm rather skeptical than hyped and later disappointed. There were two things I like, by the way. We see Numenor, the kingdom of men. We know that it will get destroyed, so I guess it could be interesting to see what exactly happens. Maybe you know, I don't. And we see a young Galadriel and a young Elrond. Looks like Galadriel is one of the main leads, but maybe so is Elrond. We'll see. I just really hope they treat it as a fantasy fairy tale and don't bring Game of Thrones politics in it. I know the Silmarillion would offer the opportunity to do so, and normally I love gray areas, but with Lord of the Rings, please give me the stereotypical fight between good and evil. I don't want to hear that Numenor broke down because the inflation caused the destruction of the city. Please just don't. Well, now you know my thoughts about the Rings of Power teaser. They release it on September the 2nd this year on Amazon Prime. What do you think about it? Write in the comments, let me know, and if you like the video, give us a thumb up and subscribe for more. Have a good one, and I see you in the next video.